I'm Charles Pitts. I'm a registered psychotherapist in Quebec and in Ontario. I work with individuals, I work with couples, I work with families. Over the past decade, more than a decade, I've had the great privilege of working with individuals who are struggling with life changes, with existential change in their lives, with crises as well. I came to being a psychotherapist after enjoying, if you like, psychotherapy myself as a client over many years in individual settings, even in group settings in Canada and in the United States. Learned a lot about myself, and one would hope grew as a result of the experiences that I personally had. Professionally, for 30 years, I worked in the corporate environment, but in the back of my head, I always had in mind becoming a psychotherapist. And for the past decade or more, I've been working as a psychotherapist with very, very, very courageous people who come to a point in their lives where they say, no, something has to change. I want to change something. And indeed, we're reminded that the unexamined life isn't even worth living, they say. So I've had lots of opportunity to examine or re-examine my own life, my own way of acting, and I'm privileged to be able to share with others their re-examination or examination of the way they live. There are several factors that recur in my practice, and over again, I see people who are, how would we say, victims of what's called the Atlas syndrome for one reason or another. It's often called parentification, or it's part of parentification, where these people take on so many responsibilities so young. And there are rewards to it, but there's a significant burden as well. I wouldn't be surprised that 85% or more of my clients are Atlas types. That is, they take on too much. They're trying desperately to please other people, and they're forgetting themselves. They're forgetting the first dictum of manned flight, which is get your own oxygen mask on first before trying to help anyone else. So over and over again, I see that. And what I see with many of my clients, if not most, is a sense of a lack of permission, a lack of assertiveness, and a certain level of superstition. Oh, I don't dare change things because what if? And if I were to change things, what would the impact be? Would people turn against me? What I've come to see also from my own life experience, but in the clinic as well, is that there are three key factors to our relationships with other people. And we all crave relationships with others. It is our lifeblood. It is what keeps us going. Now, there are some people who may say, well, I don't need much human contact, or I prefer the company of animals. Well, albeit, so be it. The contact with others is essential as air and food to our well-being. In this area, three elements come to mind as being essential to maintaining healthy, hopefully flourishing relationships with other people. And they are trust, equity, and complicity. Trust is largely an intuitive thing. We meet and we trust or we distrust. Some of us may have had experiences which lead us to tend towards not trusting, but all things being equal, in any event, trusting others really is an intuitive, instinctive thing in us. And it really is the foundation of our relationships with other people, whether they be personal, romantic, sexual, or professional, commercial. Trust is the key factor. Underpinning this foundational element, however, is equity. Equity doesn't mean being equal. What it means is being and contributing at levels that are recognized by the other as sufficient to maintain equilibrium. So whereas you may earn more money than I, through labor and other means, may be making an equal contribution in whatever enterprise, whether it's establishing a family, living together, or whatever. There we are. I'm making an equitable contribution. And without it, resentment will grow. So making an equitable contribution underpins our sense of trust. The third element, which is complicity, again underpins trust and this sense of equity. So all three of these pillars work together, helping us create what can be flourishing, dynamic, enriching relationships. And these elements, when they're fine-tuned and well combined, I think bring a sense of wellness to us. One of the elements, however, that undermines the health of trust, equity, and complicity is a lack of assertiveness. And this can come from our having been overwhelmed by a sense of fear, by a need to conform at too young an age, perhaps. A lack of assertiveness. Assertiveness is not aggression. It's simply stating in no uncertain terms what it is that you feel you want, you need from a certain circumstance, and what your partner wants and needs, and somehow finding a matching so that there is harmony between what is required or what is desired by one or by the other or both. So the lack of assertiveness, which I find far too often in the people that are consulting me, is an element that needs nurturing in many, many people. And without assertiveness, we see expressions of aggression or an unhealthy passivity or passive aggression, which is on the surface being in agreement, but underneath being against whatever is being proposed. And this leads to resentment, can lead to acting out, can lead to all kinds of deterrent behaviors in a relationship. So, over time, what have I learned? I've learned that assertiveness is a key element towards more flourishing relationships, and that the maintaining of trust, of equity, that is that harmonious balance of exchanges between individuals, and complicity where values and meaning and projects align. All of these three elements can lead to more beneficial, more healthy and positive relationships in our lives. Relationships that are just as essential as the food we eat and the air we breathe.